In an abandoned building, where dust dances in the rays of light filtering through the cracks of old walls, two figures collide in a dialogue saturated with tension. She looks up, unwavering, speaking words full of confidence and hidden defiance. "I think I'm getting too old for the Horn of Garnacha. You should have found me sooner." Her interlocutor, a man with a powerful figure and a deep gaze, is smoking a pipe, his voice rough and filled with irony. "You probably came here to find our nightmare director? He hasn't been here in a while. I had to work with someone like that." The moment is filled with tension where fatigue and hope, experience and youth collide. "You just need to make a scabbard, keep trying," he advises, but the answer comes quickly and decisively. "No, I've already tried." Such an exchange is not only a dispute, it is a struggle for power, for the right to decide one's own destiny. And when the older man laughs, his laughter sounds like a challenge. "Then try a million more times. Ha ha, you young ones have so much spunk." Surrounded by semi-darkness, a man with graying hair and tired eyes frankly confesses his feelings. "I'm sure it didn't seem that way to you. But I really tried." His face reflects the complexity of his emotions, a mixture of fatigue and determination. His interlocutor, a man with deep dark eyes and an unyielding gaze that looks directly at him, stating, "Especially looking at you, Ajaban, even though you may not believe me." The tone of his words emphasizes the hidden wisdom and experience gained over the years. Then on to the workshop, where a man in an apron, glowing with confidence and skill, proudly says, "I am now a master in all things blacksmithing. Whatever the weapon of your nightmares is, I can fix it with a 99% probability." His appearance and stoicism emphasize his skills and status in the blacksmithing world, but reveals the shadow of doubt behind his certainty. But after reaching that level, I began to have strange thoughts. His eyes stare off into the distance, full of thoughts of the unknown that awaits him outside the forge. In the hazy light of the room, where every object seems filled with mystery, a young man sits at a table immersed in his thoughts. "Maybe I wasn't trying for a 99% chance of success," he says, his voice quiet but full of hidden meaning, "but was only trying to get away from that 1% chance of failure." His words hover in the air like a shadow of his own doubts. The answer doesn't come immediately, but it's firm and definite. "Yes, you really did work much harder than the others." The words of confession sound before him while he examines the broken object on the table. "But do you understand how the processing skill works?" This question is asked by someone who has seen more, who has traveled the path from apprentice to master, and knows the value of each step. And then our imagination paints us a picture of an ancient, mysterious being, powerful and enigmatic, as if it were the embodiment of all fears and dreams. The principle of operation, seeing skill, he's one of the beginning skills, and existed back when fire and water first appeared. Such words spread in the space, filling it with excitement and deep meaning. How can a mere human being understand and master such mysteries? A question cast into the abyss, seeking answers that can only be found in the heart of craftsmanship and art. The young man's profile is shrouded in shadows, his voice quiet but full of reflection. "You've been all this time, used a skill without realizing what you were doing with it." These words reflect a moment of understanding born in the silence between words. The hands grip the instrument firmly and their movements are precise and confident. "The point, you say? My spiritual power amplifies the hammer and chisel." The words penetrate through the monotonous sound of the work, revealing the inner connection between soul and matter. In front of us are three people standing together, gazes filled with questions and searching for answers. If it's so simple, then why is processing to the end given to them? A reflection on the complexity of doctrine, on the gulf between knowledge and its application. A man with a deep gaze, whose words sound like echoes of ancient wisdom. "You don't even have to study, they him. My students should be able to turn out something even remotely similar." His words are like a bridge between generations, between a master and his students exploring the boundaries of his art. A surprised voice resounds in the semi-darkness of the workshop. "You don't understand the essence of what you're doing, but you can still use the skill." What? They are words expressing amazement at an unconscious skill, at an ability that seems almost magical. "Do you know the essence of processing?" A rhetorical question thrown in the direction of the student, as if challenging him, stimulating him to reflection and self-knowledge. The answer comes unexpectedly and mysteriously. "I didn't know, but recently realized her." These words open the door to the world of intuitive understanding, to a place where knowledge is acquired, not through words, but through experience and inner insight. And now there is an action on the verge of magic and reality. The metal in the hands of the master begins to pulsate and glow, as if coming to life under the touch of his hands. How do you do it? A question full of admiration and bewilderment hangs in the air, emphasizing the moment when craftsmanship becomes art. In a gathering where shadows and light create contrasts on worn floors and tired walls, a voice is heard saying, "Look and tell me what you see." It is an invitation to reflect, to share views, to a common search for truth. You splitting the horn apart? A question full of disbelief and amazement is asked before the flickering light and sparks that seem to dance in the air, creating an enchanting spectacle. Because of labor, the beginning of a response full of humility and the realization that mastery comes not only through inspiration, but through hard work. There's nothing strange about it, but you're already starting to understand more, am I right? Continuation, offering a depth of understanding that transcends simple skill reproduction. And finally, words that make you think. If even with so much effort nothing comes out, then the problem is not you, but the world itself. It's a statement of perspective, that some of life's obstacles are not due to personal shortcomings, but to broader worldwide limitations. From the depths of the darkness comes a voice, "You're good, but that's the way of nightmares, not people." This statement opens the door to a world where strength and skill transcend the boundaries of human understanding, a world of myth and legend. Then what is the way of the people? A question full of eagerness to understand and accept other ways. How would I know? An answer that conceals a depth of knowledge, but also an unfathomable mystery that every master must come to terms with. Man is not destined to be anything but an apprentice. This wisdom sounds like a reminder that the path of a master is one of endless learning, constant growth, and recognizing one's limitations. The limits of man? No. If I, being old, I can teach skills to demons, then, am I right? A statement that carries with it the challenge and rejection of the limitations imposed by age or one's own beliefs. Finally, out of the darkness comes the decisive question, so do I have to do? Do you want me to fight against the world, or what? These are the words of those who stand on the threshold of great decisions, those who are ready to challenge fate itself. In a semi-darkened room, a young man, his face filled with determination, utters, "Honest? A world that makes you believe you're helpless when you're not?" It asks a question that confounds perceptions of reality, raising doubt about established truths. You may be old, but you can still fight. He calls for action, for an indomitable spirit that does not recognize age as an obstacle. Fragment of a broken object, its lines and shapes are an unsolved mystery. Not through the system, but with my own eyes. A different way of knowing is offered, through direct perception, rather than knowledge handed down from generation to generation. And then a majestic shot shows us a view of the world colored red, a vision full of power and mysticism. And finally, a mysterious creature in the gloom, its outline floating and shimmering in the night. He's always seen the world this way. No slopes, no interest. Voice expresses alienation from the world, as if he is looking at it from the other side of the mirror. A voice full of reflection rises above the noise and bustle, a world without limits and boundaries. Are words that suggest a dream of a place where anything is possible, where everyone can experience freedom without convention. How can you live in it and not go crazy? A question that pits the ideal against reality, demonstrating that complete freedom can be as dangerous as its absence. How? Or is he really crazy? An exclamation full of despair and bewilderment emphasizes the fine line on which each of us balances sanity and insanity. The image then switches to a scene with an open gate symbolizing new opportunities and beginnings. Are you really going to leave like that? Words full of distrust and doubt, perhaps a farewell or a challenge. And finally, a figure standing confidently on the threshold of a new path. We are done, after all. A simple statement that can signify both the end of one story and the beginning of another. Darkness enveloped the figure whose silhouette curved like a dancing flame. Besides, he seemed to like it. The words echoed like ghosts slipping away in the gloom. Would have shortened the phrase otherwise, added the one who had not yet acquired a name, but already owned the fates. Young man with a confident smile as if embodying carefree and hopeful. If you don't mind, can I pick one? His words hovered in the air, promising a new beginning. Then darkness again, but already tinged with majesty, with the metallic gleam of a warrior. I think it would be good to associate his name with something military. I'll swing the spear individualist, they said, discussing a name for the newborn warrior. Maverick, like General Maverick. The offer sounded like a challenge. This image was full of strength and determination. With a brutal smile, emerald gaze, it was as if he was confirming his choice. Yes, I don't think there's a more appropriate name for him. His voice was full of confidence that the decision had been made correctly. The farewell was warm and boisterous, like a reunion of old friends. "May the road keep you safe," they said with cheerful affability as the figure in the doorway faded slowly into the shadows of the corridor. "See you later, bearded bastard," shouted after them, the laughter echoing off the walls, and though the words were harsh, there was a warmth in them. The face stepping aside, however, was concerned, unreadable. "Wait!" sounded behind him, but it was too late. He was gone, absorbed in his own thoughts, his gaze sliding over unseen images of the future, hands clutching each other in firm resolve. "In the world you see..." The words hung in the air as if they were a clue to a vocation that was just beginning to take shape. And suddenly an intense surge of emotion broke the silence. "How do I look?" Fear and bewilderment froze in the eyes of the mighty warrior who faced an unexpected truth, a moment when inner world and reality came face to face. The final shots of the story are bathed in scarlet light, charged with the tension of the moment to come. The young man's face is filled with determination. His eyes are like two deep abysses reflecting the fire of inner struggle. "As a human being," he whispers, and these words carry the weight of all humanity, the burden of personal truth and the search for meaning. And then there's an explosion. The world around it turns red, and in the center of this chaos, a majestic figure stands before a vortex of energy that explodes against the sky, like a starbirth or the end of the world. "He won't give it up," says an echo that sounds like the roar of thunder, and it's like a confession or a curse, marking the beginning of a test that will determine the true nature of the hero. A silhouette in a cloak stands before a mysterious figure surrounded by darkness. "Why do you always follow me around?" he asks, a touch of irritation in his voice, perhaps even suspicion. In response, only a cryptic statement. "What's wrong with that? Do you think I have ulterior motives?" Words full of ambiguity open the door to speculation and assumptions. A scene change brings a close-up of the young man's face, where the look is filled with distrust and perhaps a hint of betrayal. "Already manipulating something behind my back?" He asks a question that could be rhetorical, but in this context sounds like an accusation. In the shadows of the streets hidden from the world, where every whisper and glance carries secrets, they stand, a man and a woman immersed in a tense dialogue. His eyes, piercing and hard like steel that has been through the fire of battle, ask, "How did you know?" She, with hair the color of deep ruby night, smiles with unwavering confidence, and you can hear the dangerous promise in her voice. "Planning your murder." But he's not one to give in to fear or threats. His answer is imbued with cold determination. "And what will you do when you kill me?" There is not a shadow of doubt on his face, only the hidden irony and steadfastness of a spirit gathering for the final act of struggle. And then there is a quiet but determined whisper, thrown into the air as if a challenge to fate. I'll take the soul stone and live attractively." These are the words of a game where each piece knows its moves, but the outcome remains uncertain until the last moment. The story that unfolds before us is full of intrigue and hidden agendas, where each dialogue is a chess game in which hearts become pawns on the board of fate. The intertwining of destinies continues like a whirlwind that cannot be stopped. In response to his question, she, like a game master, nonchalantly says, "How strange you react to everything. Here." He, puzzled by her actions, can't hide his surprise. "What is it?" Moments later, she, one step away from unraveling, asks, "You've never encountered nightmares before, haven't you? What do you plan to do?" There is both defiance and genuine curiosity about his next move in those words. He, careful and focused, reveals part of his plan. "Micah told me how to find them. When we meet, I'll ask about the Emporium tree and how to get into the abyss." And here she is, with a face that hides as much as it reveals, saying softly but firmly, "Those who are created become legends of the abyss, and I'm not going back." It builds the words into a warning or prophecy that carries both hope and a foreboding of the end. Their dialogue is a dance of words and opinions, where every step can lead to unknown consequences. Every rejoinder can change the balance of power in a world where the boundaries between reality and nightmares are gradually blurring. In an instant, when the soul collides with the soul, it utters words, their meaning hidden, but the weightiness is felt in the air. There is no answer, only a heavy look that says more than words. The next moment is shrouded in darkness, in which his harsh whisper, filled with surprise and bewilderment, resounds. "What did you say?" Shadows dance around as if coming to life in anticipation of the inevitable. She answers again, her voice filled with passion and desperation. "Who the fuck are you, bitch? What do you do that for?" Her words cut through the silence like a sword, and her questions sound like curses thrown in the face of fate. He, for his part, remains unfazed, his reply pouring out coldly and confidently. "Do what you want, and I'm less likely to nag the people around me." He remains adamant, standing in the midst of the storm he has caused with his words, strong and immovable like a rock in a stormy sea. The scene shifts, and now we are faced with a different way of life, a marketplace where people and their daily affairs seem far removed from the hidden battles in the shadows. The salesman says with warmth in his voice, "You don't even consider the people living here people." They are words that evoke memories of something simpler, more human. She, in her splendor and power, insists, her words reflecting a deep passion. "We all, and me and them, are human beings too. I may not be strong like you, but I'm human too." Her cry is not just a statement about herself, it is a cry for recognition, for a desire to be seen and heard like everyone else. In the shadows, his gaze caught in a moment of reflection. Quietly and persuasively, he reminds, "But I'm human too." They are words that emphasize commonality, even when the world around us seems divided into those who rule and those who follow. And here she is, like the embodiment of fate, majestic and unyielding, saying, "If I am to die, it will only be today. I will never go back in time." Her determination is not just words, it is a statement of intent, of refusing to go backwards, of choosing to go forward and only forward to face the future, however unpredictable it may be. And there she stands, majestic and unyielding, with hair the color of flame and eyes that hold the secrets of immortality. Her words, filled with power and authority, warn, "You'd better tread carefully, witch." And it sounds an eternal warning to all who dare to challenge its power. She offers a choice. Either follow her moral code or, undeterred by carelessness, let life pierce the silence like an arrow and come to an end. The next scene takes us to one whose gaze is piercing and whose plans are unknown. "Okay, they have a hostage and they need me," he ponders, and a fire of determination blazes in his tiger-like eye. He is hidden but ready for action, prepared to reveal the cards of fate. The shadow sneaks up on the next act of this drama, hiding in an alley on the other side of the street, ready to meet or fight fate. His silhouette is enigmatic, but you can read the determination in his posture. Finally, the gaze settles on the swirl of red and black, on the question hanging in the air like a howling wind. Intervene and rescue the hostage? But the answer is hidden in infinity, in the depths of a black gaze that pierces the very core of things, seemingly asking, is the game worth the candle? In this dark corner of the world, where terror lurks around every corner, a man stands in the shadows, observing what is happening around him. In his eyes is a reflection of a reality he knows all too well. No matter how many times you save them, reality won't change. His words waft cold, penetrating deep like a winter wind through empty streets. He sees a world where souls are lost, where numbers and skills become the only means of survival, a world where people sell their essence for the illusion of power. Zombies, a reflection of lost humanity, roam nearby, reminding us of the price we have to pay for every choice. Suddenly movement. We need to get rid of it somehow and start looking for nightmares. The action is unstoppable and every moment is on the scales of fate. And in this struggle for survival, where every choice could cost a life, she appears majestic and formidable, her cry shaking the foundations of the world. And in that sense, I don't see you as human. Her anger rips free like a whirlwind, and in that cry is passion, power, and desperation. In the next chapter of our story, we meet a man plagued by doubts who is exploring the depths of his soul. "There's no point in staying with a foreman who has such a purpose," he says, and his words are full of frustration, the question mark in his gaze leaving us wondering about his next move. Somewhere else she reappears, the embodiment of anger and power. Her screams would have announced the world if it could hear, "Don't date again, don't worry about it." The echo of her words split the air, and though they seem like orders, there is both pain and fear in them for the one standing before her. Meanwhile, the shadow sullenly makes its way along the streets. "Damn, you witch has betrayed us, warn everyone." The warning sounds urgent and immediate, foreshadowing a storm that could hit at any moment. And here we see a tavern, an ordinary place that could be a refuge or the stage for the next act of this drama. Quiet and unremarkable amidst the coming chaos, she waits to see what the next page of history has to say. The final chords of the epic are played at the curtain. She, fiery red-haired, stands before the heavy doorframe, a note of despair in her words. Why? It ended like this? She stands on the threshold of decisions that cannot be undone, and in the face of a destiny that cannot be changed. The door opens and she apologizes. "I'm sorry, am I late?" The world beyond that door may be very different, and her delay may have changed the course of events, but her tone also carries something more. Perhaps a last chance at redemption or a new beginning. And there looms before us his figure, the personification of strength and power with words that sound like a sentence, "I should have finished you off sooner." His determination and confidence that he is doing the right thing leaves no doubt that he is serious. The next shot shows her fighting. The words, "Because of you this time, I'm definitely going to die." "Shut up, Grandma, quiet," hovered in the air, filled with fear, anger, and determination. She's willing to defy fate, even if it means facing the inevitable. And here comes the climax of our story. We see a man, the epitome of sternness and authority, who seems to be facing the destruction of his own beliefs. The witch broke the rules, came in her own ways. What about our deal? His words reek with the coldness of calculation and betrayal. He's not used to sudden changes in plans, and each change forces him to rethink his moves. The one whose hair resembles flames doesn't relent. "Surely you've seen a witch keep her word?" Her questioning raises doubts in those around her and emphasizes that she plays by her own rules, unpredictable and dangerous. We see a shot where chaos engulfs everyone around us, and the words "because" hang in the air, filled with untold foreboding and an uncertainty that obscures true motives and impending actions. Finally, the weapon looming against the starry sky, the words "he wants," leave us in suspense, waiting for the completion of the phrase, the true intent behind this powerful sign. In the epic conclusion of the story, our heroine, the embodiment of destruction and rebirth, stands before us in the full majesty of her power. "Destroy this world." Her words sound like a verdict on the old order, a challenge that will overturn everything that exists. Her antagonist can't hide her mixed feelings of surprise and rage. "You're out of your mind, witch of destruction." He utters these words, and in them reads not only anger, but powerlessness before the rebellious spirit of her who stands before him. The battle unfolds. Shadows and light collide in a dance of death and life. Shadow technique. These words sound like a sign of impending triumph or defeat, a secret about to be revealed. In the next shot, we see the shadow shine a light, ironic and grim. They call you the witch of destruction because you attract grief to yourself, don't they? His words are both a challenge and an acknowledgement of her power, and there is something more hidden in them than just a title. As the final chord sounds in our epic poem, the scene is filled with the tension of waiting for the outcome of the final battle. She, a witch with hair like magma, laughs in the face of danger. "That one! Let's see if it happens now." Her challenge throws down the gauntlet to fate and all those who stand in her way. Shadows and light continue their age-old battle. Every blow, every movement of the characters is intertwined with magic and raw power, leaving traces on the canvas of reality. He, steadfast and unwavering, with sword in hand ready to strike the decisive blow, shouts to his enemies, declaring their fate in one mighty movement. And the witch, the center of all the chaos, unleashes her might in response, leaving no doubt of her intention to fight to the end. Her eyes burn with determination, and her strength explodes in a bright glow, reflecting her indomitable will and power. And so the story comes to its epic conclusion. A witch whose power is named as destruction is met with a challenge. I think she might better be called not the witch of destruction, but the witch of quiet decisions. What do you guys think? They are words that flip perceptions, offering a different perspective on her actions. Nevertheless, a man of unquestioned authority is not about to relent. Damn would have been open in the open. His words carry a threat and a hint of the possibilities that could have been had the situation been different. But the witch will not stand aside. Her words, "The dark forest will not leave it so easy," are filled with determination and foreshadow further resistance, a refusal to submit to the fate foretold. Her challenge in the last frame, "Don't you dare me. The dark forest can't do anything in the city. Even if they find out what happened, both of you will already be dead." Urim Nasiji is a demonstration of unwavering will and willingness to persevere to the end, no matter what she has to overcome. A scene filled with the energy of magical elements, the witch stands at the center of 7 akram blades that surround her, creating an impressive vortex of power. Ice partition. These words not only describe the visual beauty of the moment, but also emphasize the cold determination with which she is willing to confront anything that comes her way. Her opponent, equally powerful and determined, recognizes her skill, and you're interesting. His words show respect for her strength and skills. At the same time, he prepares for his move, going to use his own powers to defeat the Witch of Destruction. He pronounces with strength and confidence, "I will tear you with my own hands, Witch of Destruction." His words are a promise of struggle and completion that he intends to fulfill. The witch, trapped by her own charms, exhales only one word, "Ahem, creature." This word is overflowing with pain, anger, and defiance, foreshadowing that the battle is not yet over. As the veil slowly descends on our story, the characters begin to reflect on their actions and possibilities. The purple-clad man standing amidst the beating keys of energy asks himself, "Why am I thinking about him right now?" It is a reflection on the past, on the connections and decisions that brought it to the current moment. Another character, with a hint of a smile, ponders going back in time. If there was a way to go back in time, would you go back? It's a question each of us asks when faced with the consequences of our decisions. The witch, a symbol of determination and strength, also expresses her desire to change the past. "I want to go back in time. If I went after him." She understands the importance of past events and their impact on the present. And in the final scene, where she stands before a man, perhaps just before she dies, he asks, "Would you be able to see the end of this world?" This question provokes reflection on finitude, the impact each of us has on the world, and the extent to which our actions can change the course of history. At the dawn of a decisive battle, when every blow counts, we see him, a warrior whose silhouette split space with its power. The cry of his attack would have announced the world if he could hear. The next moment reveals his true face to us. The mask falls away, revealing a testing gaze full of wonder and perhaps a realization of some inevitability or betrayal that is around the corner. The witch, who has gathered the energy of destruction around her, still doesn't leave the battle arena. Her line, "I don't like moments like this. What about the destruction of the world? Are you giving me up, buddy?" sounds both like a rebuke, a challenge, and a joke in the face of death, testifying to her unconventionality. And here she is, the witch facing the inevitable, accepting the challenge of fate with a slight sadness in her eyes. Size doesn't fit, words that may reflect not only the literal meaning but also a metaphor for her place in this world and in the story that unfolds around her. "Are you the guy with the soul stone? Hey, I didn't even have to look for it." Words full of self-righteousness and disdain foreshadow a new encounter, perhaps a new conflict. Is the nightmare demon with you? A question that can mean both a physical presence and a presence in thought, in memory, in a past that won't let go. Where he's at, no, bring the nightmare here. Words imbued with determination and a commanding tone indicate a readiness for action, an intention to change the course of events, perhaps against all odds. Is he completely sick? Rumor has it you went up against the castleman and got involved. Phrases that hint at the complex inner thoughts and conflicts, the struggle that unfolds not only on the battlefield, but also within each character. In the pulsing heart of battle, where every step could be their last, the heroes come face to face with the inevitable. A witch with hair like a flame reminds us to be vigilant. Be careful. They're fourth steel adapters. Her words are not just a warning, but a recognition of the strength of her allies or enemies, an embodiment of respect for combat skills and experience. The resisting fate warrior, transformed in an instant into a weapon of his anger, explodes the silence of the battle with his battle cry, "Untethered monkey, I'm going to pass you now." His words are full of defiance, ready to fight, to prove his superiority over his opponent. The act of battle unfolds with renewed vigor, magical spells cleaving the air, leaving behind only swirls of light and energy. Which one? A surprised exclamation burst out from the depths of the warrior's soul, as if he had encountered something he had not expected. A man with a piercing gaze, perhaps the hero of our story, asks himself, "Ducked?" It can be a sign not only of a physical reaction to an imminent threat, but also a metaphor for readiness for change or unexpected twists of fate. He goes on to reflect on loyalty and betrayal, questioning trust and loyalty. We were told he was not an adapter. Could he be the champion of the abyss? This expression of doubt and suspicion applies not only to past events, but also to current alliances and alliances. In another shot, we see a giant, frightening creature that seems ready to engulf the world with its darkness and power. While you were cranky, someone ducked. If the patron, his words foreshadow tragedy, revealing possibly ulterior motives and underlying fears. Finally, a man with a tiger's eye, as if symbolizing vigilance and keen perception, asks the rhetorical question, what difference does it make? It can be an expression of indifference, or, on the contrary, a deep understanding that true intentions and goals remain hidden until the very end. A man with dark hair and a serious look seems shocked or stunned. His questioning dodged, could indicate an unexpected turn in battle, or a sudden realization of something significant that changes his understanding of the current situation. The same man discusses strategy or next steps with other characters. They speak of someone who is not an adapter, perhaps speaking of an exception or a special person among them who has a unique ability. A huge, dark creature, possibly a demon, that towers over the characters. He represents a threat, and the words, "if the cartridge," may indicate the use of some powerful weapon or last resource in the fight against this sinister presence. A character with dark hair and sharp eyes, perhaps a leader or key character, makes a strong statement or asks an important question that could affect the outcome of events. A dramatic moment between two characters. A man with dark hair and a serious face seems surprised or shocked by the revelation of a red-haired witch who looks at him with reproach and concern. Her words, "she, too human," can change the course of their relationship and their attitude towards the current conflict. This tense moment in the battle. Figures painted in red light reflect chaos and destruction. There is a sense of urgency in the air, emphasized by the words, "What are you waiting for? Attack already," which can be an order to take immediate action in a critical situation. This portrait of desperation and urgency, the witch, apparently in distress, cries out, "Hurry," in desperation, which may indicate an extremely dangerous situation or the need for urgent help. But a powerful scene with a man swinging a weapon filled with energy. His posture and facial expressions speak of determination and power, while the witch seems to retreat into the shadows. This moment could be the climax of the battle, or a key turning point in their fight. But a magical explosion is observed, a huge glowing pillar that spreads its rays into the night sky above the rooftops of the city. The huge energy waves rippling around this phenomenon testify to the power of magic awakening in this place. It could be the manifestation of a powerful spell or the summoning of some powerful being. Two characters, warriors and mages, who are looking at a light source. Their postures and looks are full of questions and wonder, as if they are confronted with something unexpected and exciting. One of them asks, "What's that out there?" which emphasizes their sudden encounter with the unknown. The facial expression of one of the characters. His gaze is focused and penetrating, as if he is trying to solve a mystery or determine the next steps. His solution, "Let's follow." "Yes, sir." Speaks of obedience and a willingness to follow orders despite potential dangers. One of the characters with a serious and focused face gives the order, "Sound barrier breached," which could mean the disruption of a defense or important defensive mechanism, likely leaving them vulnerable to attack. We see a noble warrior with golden curls standing in the front line, with his eyes fixed on something imposing. His eyes and looks set him apart from the rest. Perhaps he's a master or a leader. His words, "Mr. Alexander, what's going on here?" carry the weight of authority and the expectation of an answer. A man with dark hair addresses a blonde man. His words, "It's about time you arrived," may indicate that their arrival was expected or important to current events. A figure of apparent authority who discusses the violation of the law, with emphasis on the fourth paragraph of Section 276 of the party's code. This hints at a serious accusation or the existence of legal force in this context. But what is discovered is a moment of planning or realization. The dark-haired character discusses using the bar as a starting point to destroy the entire world, to which the red-haired witch objects, emphasizing that this was his goal. This may indicate a conflict of interest or a change of plans. A noble warrior with golden curls dressed in shining armor. His constant and confident facial expression speaks of his authority and experience. He cites the law, emphasizing his responsibility and duty to the law, which may indicate his role as a judge or knight protector. Someone shouts out in a state of shock or fear that, "We need to leave." This can be the moment when the characters realize that they are facing a threat they are unable to resist, or when circumstances have changed beyond recognition. A man in snow-white armor who appears to be performing a magic spell or manifesting his power. His words, "Do you think you can escape me?" express challenge and confidence in his abilities, making him a dangerous and powerful opponent. Dynamic action using magic. A character might be using a spell or ability to attack or defend. His words, "Oh shit," may reflect frustration or an unexpected development. A majestic warrior in shining armor, a magical sword glittering in his hand, illuminating the space around him with a blue light. His words, "Further resistance is pointless," are imbued with confidence and power, foreshadowing the imminent defeat of the enemy. A moment of dynamic collision. A character in dark armor is thrown back from a blow, his gaze full of fear and determination. The tension of the battle and the unpredictability of the battle's outcome. the moment of the battle, where the light of the sword of the warrior in white armor and the shadow of his opponent collide, creating a contrast between light and darkness, good and evil, order and chaos. A man in dark armor swinging his weapon powerfully with a cry of "Scum, die!" in the air. His posture and facial expression reflect the desperation of the final attack, when all cards are revealed, and all that remains is to fight to the end. A moment of catharsis in an epic battle. Magical energy explodes from the sword, warping the air and destroying the earth around it. The warrior is probably using a forbidden spell or technique that seems to have no equal in power. The shot captures the aftermath of a powerful blast of energy, displaying the fall of the enemy, his figure encompassed by light and the words "Ksh," surrendered, echoing his defeat. But a detailed shot focusing on a warrior's hand, clutching a sword with an increasing glow around it that foreshadows the next move or strike, perhaps the last in this fight. A warrior full of determination and strength as he prepares to strike a decisive blow, while his opponent, stunned and bewildered, is just beginning to realize the gravity of his situation. In the narrow streets of the ancient city, where dusk merged with the haze of the passing day, something inexplicable is happening. The cloaked figure stands staring at a mesmerizing sight, a dark cloud hovering over the rooftops as if it were alive and had its own sinister will. I didn't think I'd have to see it here, he thinks. Suddenly from around the corner, another mysterious figure appears. Her features are hidden by a mask and her gaze is full of determination and anger. "Woman, it seems to have begun, dark cloud," he shouts, but his voice shakes with rage and fear. "Fool, I told him to wear a mask," he mutters under his breath as if warning himself. The third, whose face is half obscured by shadow and power, indignantly throws out an accusation. "You used the black cloud without the leader's permission." In his voice, you can feel the pressure and confidence of those accustomed to command. Finally, he appears, at the center of this incomprehensible intrigue. A man with hair the color of night and a bright purple cloak that flutters like the very embodiment of chaos. He smirks, mischief playing in his eyes. "Is the Witch of Divorce really that good?" She scoffs. "The arrows of the princess of the Golden Forest home prevrat as Sonan," he continues, concluding some mysterious meaning in the words. "Didn't you promise to deliver it to me, as you remember?" Her question is full of challenge and subtext, promising to reveal the secrets that rest in the shadows of this mysterious event. The Dark Knight, whose imposing figure casts a shadow on the sidewalk of the street, dispels all speculation. "It's not because of the witch. The Silver Soldier has come." His words full of confidence, as if he had seen the unseen and understood the unknown. On the roof of one of the buildings, under the cover of night, his comrade, equally grim, watches the action unfold. "Silver Soldier, this wanderer from the tribe, is there now," he confirms, with a shadow of a smile on his lips, anticipating the outcome of the coming battle. "Hey, glad he got to experience our gift. It was a wonderful performance." His words echo through the ages, full of sarcasm and secret knowledge. And then a new figure comes into play, a man in black with an accompanying woman in red, who seems to have unwittingly become part of this strange event. "What the hell is this commotion?" His voice sounds demanding, and in his gaze there is impatience and determination to solve this riddle. The next moment, a sweep of magical power cuts through the air. Blue light sparkles around them, enveloping their figures in a glowing vortex. The force that emanates from them is so powerful that the very air seems to shake with its might. A vortex of power spins, creating a portal to another world or time, promising new adventures and new dangers. The whirlwind of events intensifies as a new warrior emerges from the darkness, his eyes full of determination and anger. "Who's that? I wish I knew for myself!" he yells as the dark cloud surges, but doesn't respond to his commands. "Haven't heard of messengers of the green without kin. Even they shouldn't be able to do that. It must be the last ones." His words are full of bewilderment and hidden menace as he realizes he is facing a force beyond his comprehension. Meanwhile, in front of a huge tree that towers over everyone like a monument of nature, two figures stand in front of the background, their faces reflecting shock and disbelief. A portal unfolds around them, from which indescribable power pours out. "It must be the last ones," they repeat like an incantation, summoning powers that could change the course of the battle. And then he appears, a warrior whose strength seems centered in his fist where the light of blue flame dances in his palm. "How infuriating," he says quietly, concentrating in his gaze all the seriousness and power that could change the fate of the world. In the heart of the storm, where magic and reality intertwine, a new chapter begins. Struggling to hold his ground, the warrior yells, "I didn't mean to end so wildly." His words are full of despair and bewilderment in the face of what is unfolding before him. A vortex of energy explodes, revealing the jaws of a huge beast whose presence overwhelms the scene. From the depths of the portal erupts a monster hungry for chaos and destruction, its roar filling the air. "What's that?" shouts one of the warriors, his voice drowning in the noise of battle and the power of the entity that had been summoned. His terror and disbelief are reflected in his facial expression as he realizes the full extent of the threat. The monster, whose figure occupies the entire space, rushes into battle with a roar. Around him, swirls of magical energy draw a path of destruction in the air, and his power defies fate itself. The forces of the storm raging in this enchanted world continue to grow. Explosions of magic tear through the night, sparks shooting through the fabric of reality, creating a net that struggles to contain the indomitable power. One of the warriors, his face contorted with terror and determination, shouts a command that is lost in the din of the clash. "Finish him already! What an itch!" The anger and struggle for control is reflected in his screaming. Meanwhile, another warrior, his gaze full of bewilderment and inner conflict, wonders, what kind of monster is that? He stands like an unshakable rock in the face of chaos, gathering his strength for the next decisive step. And so, on the brink of desperation and determination, the warriors come together, each summoning their unique power to face the darkness that threatens to consume their world. The battle subsides, leaving behind only silence and aftermath. On the ground in a pool of his blood lies a warrior, and his comrade bends over him, repeating the same word as a prayer or a curse. "Kamen! Kamen!" "Damn, why did it turn out this way?" muttered the other, his voice saturated with pain and regret. He stands over his wounded comrade, realizing the depth of their defeat. "This is your only chance to stay alive," says a manly voice full of determination as a black boot steps into a pool of blood. He realizes that every moment could be his last. "Answer, where are you hiding the sorcerer?" demands alone, his tone harsh and unyielding, giving no chance for lies or evasion. The air vibrates with the tension of waiting for the answer that could decide the fate of all. The shadow leans over the fallen man, and his words sound like a sentence. "A sorcerer? There's no point in me helping you." There's no pity in the voice, only cold contempt for the fate of the one who has fallen. The scene shifts. The figure stands against a fiery sky, its outline looming powerfully and triumphantly. "When he finds out, I'll wish I'd burned it sooner." His words are full of hidden meanings and hints of deep and long-standing resentments. "Wake up!" is heard among the ruins, where one of the warriors is looking for signs of life from a comrade who lies motionless. His words sound like a plea reflecting fear and hope. "What's so stubborn?" one whispers, leaning over the body of his comrade whose breathing is getting fainter and fainter. Those words are a farewell to a warrior still clinging to life. "It's just," exclaims another when he discovers something unexpected and decisive. His eyes reflect wonder and perhaps a clue to the mystery enveloping their world. In the ruins of a shattered world, amidst the shadows and ashes, is the answer everyone has been searching for. "A soul stone?" one of the warriors mumbled in disbelief and growing realization. What seemed only a legend turns out to be reality. A piece of the puzzle in this war for the fate of their world. "Everyone here is weird, selling information for drugs," says another, pointing out the ulterior motives of those left behind in the ruined city. Their eyes read desperation and willingness to sell their souls for crumbs of salvation. "But it's not drugs, a substance that reduces the level of mental pain," the woman pronounces, her eyes burning with a knowledge that many do not realize the full depth of their situation. There is a warning and a promise in her words that this war is not about drugs, but about much darker things. And in the heart of that despair, where darkness envelops everything around, a portal opens. Black shadows drift toward the sky, promising a new chapter in history filled with more dangers and challenges for the souls left to fight. Once again, the world is consumed by darkness, where horrors emerge from the depths, embodying fears and despair. Ghoul, the only word that breaks the dead silence, sounding like a sign of the coming storm. The silhouettes of the warriors are scattered, their cries of "ah" and "kia" becoming part of the chaos that surrounds them. They struggle against a darkness that tries to consume not only their bodies, but their souls as well. "Is that what the truth of this world is?" wonders one of them, his face illuminated by the bloody light of destruction. He faces a reality where every moment could be his last, and every action could have unpredictable consequences. What's the point of holding on to pride? What's important anyway? These questions, asked in moments of crisis, reflect the internal struggle between human values and the brutal reality of their world. They struggle not only with external threats, but also with their own doubts and fears. Between the torn heavens and earth comes the question of freedom. Can one really be so free? Words floating in the air collide with the reality of those bound by fate and circumstance. A mysterious entity with glowing eyes looms in the shadows, like the embodiment of night itself, looking out at the world with disdain and ready for a new battle. "Say goodbye to life, Crixini," shouts one of the warriors, facing the inevitability of a battle where every move could be the last and every choice could cost a life. And in this world where flame and darkness merge into one, a lone warrior stands against all chaos, turning everything around him to ash and destruction, defying the very existence of evil. The silhouette of a warrior towers against a scarlet sky, his figure tense in a struggle that seems endless. How in the world can man exist? Asks a question that breaks the silence of the moment and whose echoes carry through the entire history of this war. A question about the essence of humanity, about what makes us human in a world where the boundaries between good and evil are blurred. What's wrong with this man? The hero's eyes search for answers while doubt and worry cloud his mind. The gaze is directed far away, toward the uncharted and undefined. "I can't understand his deserved fate," a voice full of determination and uncertainty admits. He faces the dark side of his world, where every decision has consequences and every action can change the course of history. And where shadow merges with flame, the warrior stands alone against forces that can destroy or save his world. In his hands is a power that can change everything. Contrary to the bloody scarlet sky, there is a moment of calm. "It's coming." The whispered word heralds the approach of a new chapter or end, a new path to be traveled. The profile of the warrior and the creature share the same space, creating a contrast between light and shadow. "Spoils," the word thrown into the silence carries the weight of acceptance and the trials to come. The creature's gaze is full of rage and pain, its scream an echo of the struggle that is shaking the foundations of their world. The beast appeals to the heavens, demanding answers or retribution. Snow covers the ground, and in this winter silence the word "again" sounds like the beginning of a new cycle of events. This word represents the eternal movement of time and the inevitable repetitions in life and destinies. The weary warrior stops at the ruins of his world, his gaze full of questions and a search for meaning. Who is he anyway? Words that carry the weight of doubt and the search for identity, reflecting the internal struggle between being and emptiness. He stands on the ruined ground, a spark of hope still burning in his heart. "I hope someone else knows where to find the sorcerer." Is to recognize not only their quest to find answers, but to believe that someone else is also still searching, that they are not alone in this quest to uncover the mysteries that envelop their world. A woman with red hair like a flame warns, "Don't come any closer." Her voice is full of menace and power, as if she holds a secret or danger she doesn't want to divulge. "I'll forgive. You feel so bad," she says, and you can hear the sympathy in her words, hidden behind her strong and independent facade. She understands the gravity of their situation and the burden each warrior carries in this fight. "Captain!" shouts another character, turning to a comrade, perhaps seeking help or to convey an important message. His gaze is filled with determination and urgency, emphasizing the urgency of their mission. In moments of despair, when strength is gone and all that is left is the struggle for every breath, the plea is heard. Hurry, ask for help. It is a call to action, to the need to unite in the face of common misfortune, even when it seems too late. "Kill me!" The words full of despair and acceptance of the inevitable are uttered by the woman, her eyes closed and she seems resigned to her fate. There is no fear in her voice, only a desire to end the suffering. "I'm done." The whisper of a man at the edge of his powers. He realizes the weight of responsibility and the consequences of his actions, realizing that the fight may have been lost. And in this dark scene, where a lone figure gives the last aid to the fallen, the words "she is human" sound as a reminder of their common humanity, of the fact that deep down they are all the same, beings searching for light in the darkness. The face of the winner reads incomprehension. "I can't understand her." Words imbued with doubt indicate an inner struggle, an attempt to unravel the mystery of a rival or ally. Why is it that even using scanning, he searches for answers that are hidden from his view and understanding, trying to find the truth behind the facade of the visible? "I can't figure out what's wrong with her," he continues, his thoughts turning to that which eludes logic and knowledge, the unknown that baffles even the most seasoned soul researcher. However, there is no room for emotion on my path, he concludes, rejecting doubts and personal feelings for a higher purpose, following the path of a warrior for whom mission and duty come before personal feelings. In the midst of ruin and despair, when the world seems hopeless, the warrior declares his defiant, "I will not let the ruined world ruin me too." It is a vow of strength and survival in the face of the most dire of circumstances. "Stop!" he shouts, calling for a stop, for a moment of respite in the endless chaos that surrounds them. The woman turns to him in desperation. "Auntie, we need to get you to the hospital now." Her words are a mixture of fear and urgency. She knows that every second could be crucial. "Wait a while," she replies, words that sound like a plea for time, for a chance to reflect, or perhaps even a goodbye. Can she survive? The question hangs in the air, full of worry and doubt. After such ordeals, the chances of salvation seem slim, but hope remains in our hearts. In a narrow passageway where every step could mean the difference between life and death, stands a warrior surrounded by the hum of uncertainty and danger. His gaze is hidden but filled with determination and vigilance. An urgent call to action erupts among the populace. "Move faster! What's going on?" The entire population must evacuate immediately. These are teams on the verge of panic when every second is worth its weight in gold and can save lives. Where do we go? A question full of fear and anxiety is asked by a terrified citizen, their eyes searching for answers and a way to escape the chaos that has engulfed their world. Amidst the gloomy shadows, a raven-like creature cleaves the air with its cry, filling the atmosphere with anxiety and anticipation of an imminent collision. The whirlwind of battle swirls inexorably around, every moment filled with movement and chaos. The figures of the warriors, like shadows, blend in with the dark forces they summon or fight against. A creature with huge wings and powerful claws rips through space. It screams, drowning out everything else, becoming a symbol of the impending threat. Magical light beams through the darkness, illuminating the faces of warriors and monsters alike, leaving no room for cover or escape from the inevitable fight. Amid icy landscapes and snow-covered fields, the battle heats up with renewed vigor, and the figures of warriors, unwavering in the face of the elements, become the embodiment of steadfastness and fearlessness. In the shadow of destruction, amidst the shards of former life, a man reflects on the past with a wistful gaze. "Was that you the Mino was talking about?" His words carry the weight of perplexity and the search for truth about who stands before him, of mysteries to be solved. He stands in front of a woman who is desperately asking for help. A man who refuses to follow the rules. "I know people like you, ready for the sake of achieving their goal." Her words are cut short, but they speak of those who would do anything for their cause. "Going for the heads. I've seen a lot of them," she continues, her words full of condemnation and the realization that many are willing to go over their heads to achieve their ambitious goals. "People don't live here by choice or whim, and there's nowhere else to go," she concludes, emphasizing the hopelessness of those trapped by circumstance, struggling to survive in a world that leaves them no choice. In a harsh world where hope melts like morning fog, the words, "they are afraid," sound like a verdict, because fear becomes the faithful companion of everyone who dares to set foot on this earth. "But what?" The question asked of a warrior whose eyes are clouded with doubt. He realizes that the fears of those he protects may be as deep and uncharted as the enemies they must defeat. "Afraid to go upstairs," the voice continues, hinting that the circumstances themselves can be as dangerous as any monster of darkness that wards them in this world. And finally the warrior hears, "Fear what awaits them next." These are the words of a woman who seems to understand human nature far better than many others. She realizes that often the scariest demons are not the ones waiting around the corner, but the ones hidden inside. Amidst the confusion and tension as feelings reach a climax, the woman with the fiery hair shares her determination. But one thing is certain. Her words, full of conviction and strength, cut through the darkness. In response, a man with the stern look of a warrior and dark eyes states, "You're dangerous." His tone does not tolerate objection. It is not just a remark, but a verdict. "I don't want you to leave. You need to leave." The words of the red-haired woman lying unconscious seem contradictory, but hidden in them is a deep understanding that sometimes the greatest sacrifices are necessary for the good of others. And in conclusion, amidst the gloomy corridors and musty rooms, the words "people will see hope in the face of you" sound like a reminder that you can't survive alone. And it is the greatness of spirit and willpower of the warriors that inspire others to keep fighting. Amidst the destruction, at the epicenter of the conflict stand they, fighters endowed not only with strength, but also with the weight of responsibility. People will be afraid of you. one says, his gaze piercing and hard. This is not a warning, but a statement of fact, a recognition that those who wield power are often the object of fear. People like you, really? The other's voice cracked with emotion, as if torn between respect and the realization of the gravity of the role this warrior had endured. Please don't turn your back on this world. The plea comes from a scarred woman whose pale face hides invisible wounds deeper than those on her body. She begs for help, for salvation, not only for herself, but for the world they both seek to protect. And the last words, how much more medicine do we have? They sound like echoes of an impending desperate struggle for survival, for a spark of hope in this bleak and unforgiving world. His voice rose above the chaos, sharp and commanding in the rumble of the battle, where every blow and every shout cut the air like lightning. Find everyone you need now, he commanded, and his words echoed in the frightened looks of his subordinates. Fear and determination intertwined in their eyes. They knew that lives depended on their actions. Somewhere in the shadows, detached from all the noise, another man was holding tightly an object from which a faint glow seemed to emanate. It's Rogue? He whispered, as if trying to recall an ancient myth, an echo of a long-forgotten legend. You could feel the concentration in his movements and the lack of fear in his eyes. In another part of this divided world, among the rubble and dust, lay a man whose face was bathed in the shadows of fatigue and pain. Hell, if even a mouth won't help, he muttered, addressing the unseen captain, whoever he was. His words sounded like a prayer, like a last whisper for help in the face of an impending doom. And back again to the one who stood at the head of the storm, his gaze was directed through space and time, as if he could see through the walls of reality. If he becomes a dead man, will hope never come back? He asked a question that was more than just a question. It was a reflection on how the thin thread of life stretched across the abyss of despair could break at any moment, leaving the world in eternal darkness. In a dystopian world where every shadow can hide friend or foe, the storm of emotions is unstoppable. A man with a strong-willed face and eyes full of anger asks the profound question, "What do you think I'm doing this for?" They are words, weighed down by the weight of unspoken thoughts that hover in the air like sparks from the anvil of fate. Suddenly, the tension explodes. Two characters collide in a confrontation where one of them, right in his opponent's face, screams at him. The clash of their wills creates a halo of energy and words pierce the air. "Hey, come to your senses, I need an answer. How dare you make fun of our captain?" It's not just a fight, it's a battle of convictions where every word weighs as much as a punch. On the other side of the conflict, where a man with a wounded soul feels the poignancy of what is happening. His eyes widened with surprise and anxiety, and the air was filled with heavy anticipation. And finally we see him, the captain, majestic even in his fall. He lies like a marble statue, broken but not defeated, and his last words, "Shakespeare," seem to echo of another time and place where drama and tragedy are woven into one, creating a portrait of a man standing on the line between life and immortality in this seething epic. In these pages of drama, heavy words echo like echoes of distant times. Wrapping himself in his cocoon cloak, the character whispered with his eyes closed as if renouncing the world, "I have a thing for you. There's a request. Kill me." They are words that weigh heavier than the very ground beneath them, a demand that makes time stop. Another character on whose face the shadows of weariness mingle with disbelief replies, "You're the only one capable of it. Shouldn't you be asking to be saved?" In this question, one hears not only doubt, but also the quiet hope of redemption. This shot reveals the deceived man, his face like a page from an ancient manuscript scrawled with forgotten spells. According to paragraph and clause 4 of the code, from the beginning, of existence, souls. His words sound like law, but the law of what world we don't know. The man's gaze, full of accusation and anger, narrowed in the darkness. What a stupid, stubborn thing to say," he says. "And are those words a sentence or a prayer?" Unknown. But in them one hears the full weight of the struggle that is waged not only with external enemies, but with one's own demons, that whisper doubts in the shadows of the mind. In the shadow of the upcoming finale, the words ring out like thunder. "However, if there were more people like you." Thoughts hover in an invisible thread, linking fates and decisions, forming the fabric of events that will soon play out their final scene. Elsewhere, in the crisis of the moment, one hears a voice full of determination, "Though I wouldn't have hesitated in that damned castle for 40-odd years." These words carry the weight of history, the burden of decisions made and unmade, and the echoes of lives lived in the shadow of great walls. This moment plunges us into a world of technology and magic, where the suppression of the dead begins, and we feel the breath of time as old laws and new discoveries collide in a dance of destiny. Finally, a majestic order resounds over everyone. Stand back, all of you. It's a team that doesn't tolerate objections, and you can hear echoes of a force that could move mountains or rewrite history. Like a wave, it opens the way for the next action, setting the stage for this chapter of a story that will be remembered as a legend retold in quiet evenings by the fire. Like a great hero of the epic, the captain, a strong man with an indestructible will, declares his power. Deadman's Extermination Squad, Captain Zahir, Level 5 Adapter. His status and power require no confirmation. They speak for themselves, and his determination emanates from every word, every gesture. In response, another man, his loyal subordinate, addresses him, full of alarm and respect. Captain. You can hear the fear of the unknown in his voice and his complete willingness to follow his leader even through the darkest of shadows. Then we see a strong hand clutching the edge of the robe, and the words make way for decisive action, pursuant to Paragraph 1, Section 4 of the City Code. These are words not just about laws, but about duty, about honor, about order that must be restored. And as if the final chord of this symphony of power and responsibility, the captain looks directly into the face of danger. I must destroy all the converted dead. There is no doubt in his gaze, only an unwavering purpose that is above everything, even his own life. It's the look of a man who doesn't just wear a title, but is willing to bear the burden that title places on his shoulders. In a war with darkness, where every warrior stands on the edge between humanity and the abyss, the captain, unwavering and resolute, utters words full of determination. I must destroy all of the converted dead. It is not just a mission, it is a vow made to ourselves and all who follow. Meanwhile, another character, his eyes full of determination and doubt, is sure of one thing. He's definitely not going to die. There is a certainty in his words that there is something greater beyond the visible that determines destinies. In response, the captain, deeply focused, doubts the intentions of the unseen interlocutor. He left that one my head with his hands, and I don't know who you are. These are the words of a man who is used to trusting only actions, not words. And in the last image, where the edges of reality are erased, a man, possibly a captain, predicts the inevitable. But he'll soon be a dead man, and a dead man with the powers of a Level 5 adapter is a huge danger. We have to stop him. They are words full of the knowledge that sometimes heroism requires making the greatest sacrifices to save all they hold dear. On a battlefield where every moment could be their last, the characters face dark questions and tough decisions. Becomes a dead man? A question is asked where more than just physical death is implied, but the loss of everything that makes a person human. Elsewhere, a scholar holding a glittering stone, perhaps a source of immeasurable power, exclaims, I think it will help you then that it's a grenade horn. Then we can give it a try. Hope ignites in his words, offering a possible solution or path to salvation. The next shot reveals amazement and disbelief. How can you do this to this pre-fossil material? The character resents it. These words reflect the conflict between morality and necessity, between what is possible and what is right. And the final moment reveals a true sense of despair and hope when a man struggling with emotion says, How glad I am. Our captain will continue to live. Captain. These are the words of a man who sees in his leader not just a commander, but a symbol of all their hopes for a better future, for salvation from an impending threat. In the heart of the crisis, where life hangs in the balance, we see characters gripped by despair and hope. Mingo, she's too weak, the disease is spreading, shouts one of them, pointing to the collapsing health of a comrade, struggling with an unknown disease spreading at an unprecedented rate. The focus is on the critical condition. Attention, soul contamination, 95%. The process of becoming a dead man has begun. An announcement that sounds like a death sentence opens one's eyes to the immediate threat of becoming something else, something terrible. Amidst the chaos, a captain with power and authority finds a desperate solution. Let Chanko. He can stop it with a dead man's punch. His words sound like a last chance, a last thread of hope that could avert an unthinkable catastrophe. And then another hero, gathering his courage, utters, You know that a dead man's blow can take away from the conversion. Words that carry a possible redemption, a last resort that can undo the curse that has already consumed so many. In this last scene, overflowing with drama and tension, The characters struggle not only with an external enemy, but also with their own doubts and fears. He has important business at the castle. We won't distract the Chonko for the sake of a pig girl, one of them says, trying to balance personal feelings and responsibilities in the face of impending danger. These words evoke contradictory feelings. The captain, the epitome of strength and determination, responds, "I'm not giving in, lagging behind." His determination speaks of deep personal commitment and unwavering will. "I'll end it myself, at her own request," the captain continues, emphasizing his willingness to sacrifice everything to fulfill the last will of the one he is trying to save. And finally, we see the characters preparing for a decisive action, determined to do their duty despite the personal feelings and fears that hang over them like dark clouds before a storm. In an epic progression of events filled with intrigue and struggle, individual moments tell tales of bravery, betrayal, and magic. "What are you doing? Leave her alone already," shouts one of the characters, trying to protect a weakening comrade from those who might be about to harm her. Magical energy encompasses a falling figure whose face is covered with a stone crust, symbolizing a formidable transformation or spell about to be completed. And we see a man with a determined expression on his face who seems willing to take the necessary action despite the risk and personal feelings mixed with duty. It's like... His words are cut short, leaving us in the dark as to his next steps. The same character says with a chuckle, "Haha, my united Minyu is in such a state." These words can express both cynicism and an underlying relief that despite all the difficulties and trials, they are still together, even if their future is uncertain. In the flow of events where decisions carry dire consequences, the characters come face to face with fate. A fist clenched in anger or despair is addressed to someone in danger with a promise of help. "Don't be afraid, Aida. I'll help." We are then greeted with a scene full of incredulity and surprise. "Who the hell are you? What are you doing in my world?" Words that speak of the clash of different wills, different goals, and perhaps different worlds. The search for answers leads to questions about inner strength. Why does such a noble soul have so little inner energy? A reflection on the struggle between visible power and invisible spiritual potential. And where technology and magic intertwine is the statement, "Scanning doesn't work. That old geezer is the cause of soul contamination," revealing the underlying causes of the catastrophe they are facing. In the last act of this suspenseful story, the characters face a moment of truth. "If I kill him, you woman can survive," declares a voice, presumably that of a hero willing to go to extreme lengths to save another. A clash of views, full of challenge and questions. "Shall we stop my sword? How did you manage to stop the midsection?" Perhaps words of admiration or disbelief at an opponent's unexpected strength or skill. A moment of decision when important actions are taken with full commitment despite personal risks. Where despair and determination mingle, one hears, "That's just..." Words that may express surprise, realization, or even fear of the inevitable outcome of one's actions. But we see the characters come close to the climax of their trials. The desperate question, who are you really?" comes from the mouth of someone who may be beginning to realize the true scope of the events at hand and the identity of a mysterious ally or adversary. Moment of surprise and bewilderment, that's a center rototo book. These words may indicate the uncovering of an important element or artifact that plays a key role in unraveling the mysteries hanging in the air. "How dare you ruin it? You ruined it yourself," another character says, emphasizing the contradiction between actions and accusations, which adds complexity to their relationship and goals. Chonho, Card of Destruction, a mysterious figure surrounded by an aura of might and possibly destruction. In a world where every step entails a whirlwind of fates, the character calls for action with a tremor in his voice. "Doctor, take care of the captain." Despair and worry are intertwined in his words, and even in dark times he does not forget his duty to his commander. Reflections of encountering the unknown burst out of the depths. "What the..." The words freeze on the lips, reflecting the inner struggle and sudden realization of the protagonist faced with the unforeseen. The discovery of superiority over expectation elicits surprise and admiration. "What the heck is that? He blocked my midsection." The hero realizes that his opponent has hidden depths of strength and skill that make him not only uneasy, but respectful. Finally, in the face of an unclear threat, a question casts a shadow over what is happening. How did you get this beauty? Perhaps an accusation or an attempt to understand the motives behind actions that may seem inscrutable or even treasonous. In the abyss of battle, where power and conviction judge destinies, the characters enter the final phase of their confrontation. "Where does such a thing come from?" begins one. His words cut short as if he had realized the power or origin of an object that could change the outcome of the battle. I can lend you this. Then you will save the woman? Another character offers a deal, lit up with hope. You can sense in his words a willingness to take risks for the greater good. Ha, still scary? Of course. The answer comes with a challenge, embodying the spirit of resistance and willingness to defy fate itself. Is it normal to trust your weapon to the first man you meet? A question that expresses doubt and skepticism, questioning motives and intentions in a world where trust is a luxury and every choice can have unintended consequences. In a moment filled with tension and unpredictability, where every move can change the course of events, the characters face questions of trust, power, and purpose. How confident he is, ponders one. His confidence, or perhaps the challenge reflected in his gaze, could signify both inner strength and a willingness to face the obstacles ahead. Well, it doesn't matter, replies the other, perhaps indicating a disregard for the circumstances or a focus on the more significant aspects of their situation. That's the energy. Sword is perfect for its master, observes a third, recognizing that sometimes weapon and warrior are in harmony, which can enhance their overall power. Well, is it time to give it a good try? Offers the next, ready to test his weapon in action, in a world where every battle puts the outcome of war on the line. The characters are at the epicenter of events, where every choice and action they make is loaded with meaning and consequences. Isn't that words full of realization and perhaps anticipation of what is to come? With firmness and determination, the hero is ready for further action, calling for courage. Save still, little man. I'll do anything. Here you can feel his will to act and his willingness to take responsibility. That's this old man's world, a reflection on everyone's place and role in the grand scheme of things, perhaps a reflection on the character's inner world or the little world he represents, and freezes in a silence that conveys the weight of what has happened. Words are not needed to feel the impact of events on the characters, their inner world, and the world around them. The story reaches its peak when the characters face the consequences of their actions and choices. Damn, I'm a little low on energy, admits one of them, his weariness and despair palpable in every word. He struggles with the limitations of his powers at a key moment in the story. The dynamics of the scene change with the introduction of an unexpected twist. If it weren't for that captain... Words, perhaps reflecting a change in attitude or a deep connection to another character that could be a defining moment for their destiny. The next image shows destruction and chaos. The world is being destroyed. It can symbolize both an internal and external crisis, jeopardizing everything the characters have fought for. The climax comes when the character, overcome with emotion, utters, "I'm sorry, didn't think it would come out like this." These words may express regret, repentance, or even a sudden epiphany in the face of one's actions.